What's going on, guys? Back at it again with another Mirri build. This one, as you guys can see right in front of you, is on a Frost Staff tank that I am calling Black Ice. This is actually a pretty interesting build, to say the least, guys. I'm very excited to jump into this one. If you guys are too, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, I'm gonna keep the intro short, guys. Let's jump right into this. First things first, guys, I do want to talk about the companion passive for Mirri. And of course, it is a Dark Elf skill, and it's called Dynamic. Basically, what her passive is that increases damage done by 3% and healing done by 3%. The healing done isn't the perfect passive for a tank, however, it is somewhat useful because she will be able to keep herself alive with a little bit more health of healing that she'll be able to do. But 3% when it comes to tanking really isn't significant, and therefore I do have to say right off the bat that because of her passives, she really isn't the greatest choice for tanking, but it is a viable one nonetheless. Starting off with the number one skill on the bar, in that is our taunt, which in this case is Destructive Blast. Destructive Blast reads as Mirri blasts an enemy with magic dealing 8,961 magic damage. And then, of course, scrolling down to the Frost portion of this, Frost Blast taunts them for 15 seconds. That is important, guys, because the cooldown is actually 16, but of course we are running a few pieces of Quickened, which we will get into in the gear section, but it is managed to come down to 15.2 seconds with for the cooldown, and the actual ability lasts for, or the taunt lasts for 15 seconds, so she will have the vast majority of the time the enemy taunted. And for the 0.2 seconds that she isn't taunting them, frankly, the attention is still 99 point. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever had a situation in which the attention shifted away from Mirri in those 0.2 seconds. So I don't think you have anything to worry about in this specific case. Moving on, Ghostly Evasion. Ghostly Evasion reads as Mirri surrounds themselves in a phantasmic aura, dodging the next attack made against them, while also reducing their damage taken by 20% for 8 seconds, used when Mirri is below 75% health. So this is a very important skill for Mirri because of the fact that it is able to dodge an ability while she, can do other things to keep her health up, like her heals and stuff like that. But the most important part of this specific skill is the fact that it reduces damage taken by 20% for 8 seconds. And keeping that information active or at the forefront of your mind, the cooldown is also at 11.4 seconds with this actual setup, therefore making it just that much more relevant, seeing as she will be able to keep this ability up for longer, essentially for the majority of the time. And this skill is, again, very important. You have to have some damage reduction on your companions when tanking, otherwise there kind of defeats the purpose when you have them set up as a tank and they're dying all the time. In this specific case, it actually works great for this Mirri build. Moving on, Life Absorption. Mirri steals an enemy's life force, dealing 4,481 magic damage and healing themselves or an ally around them for 8,961 health. This is important for two reasons. One, the less important part of this is the fact that it does do a little bit of magic damage, which is 4,481 magic damage, which isn't really that significant. The important part of this specific skill is the fact that she is able to heal either themselves or an ally for 8,961 health. That is the number one heal for Mirri, mainly because she needs heals to keep herself alive, go figure. And it's a pretty decent heal too at 8,900, you know, so pretty much just south of 9,000 health. And the cooldown is at 11.4 seconds with this current setup. And so it ends up being a pretty decent heal. She does manage to keep this heal every chance she gets the opportunity. And there is no, you know, clauses to this. She doesn't have to be X amount of health to be able to use this. As long as she loses any percentage of health, she will keep this up, mainly because it also deals as a damage dealing ability. Very important skill for this specific build. Moving on, Ritual of Salvation. Mirri brands the earth underneath them with a rune of protection for 8 seconds. Standing within the rune reduces the damage they and their allies take by 20%. If the attacker is undead, Daedra, or werewolf, the rune reduces damage taken by an additional 20%. Now, this is another one of those imperative skills for Mirri in this specific build because of the damage reduction by 20%. There is a special clause to this, of course, which is if you're fighting an undead, Daedra, or werewolf, it deals or it reduces an additional 20%. Now, I don't like adding that, mainly because it's just circumstantial. However, if you do happen to find yourself fighting any one of those types of enemies, then this skill is just that much better. However, for the most, for most encounters, if you will, they're going to be normal enemies, so 20% is going to be the number you're trying to go with, which when you add this and then of course Ghostly Evasion, you have a 40% damage reduction if it's overlapping. So this ends up being a very good skill to have slotted at any given time. The only real downfall is the fact that it does have a 16-second cooldown normally, but because of our current setup, it is reduced to 15.2 seconds, which has a duration of 8 seconds. So it is up a very good amount of time, therefore making it a pretty decent skill to have slotted at any given time. Life Siphon. Mirri siphons the vigor from the blood of enemies nearby, dealing 4,481 magic damage and healing themselves and their allies for 4,481 health. This is yet another heal for not just Mirri, but also you. This is a very important skill because, again, if you manage to lose some health, it heals you. If she managed to lose some health, it heals her. Something I do like about her heals in this specific situation is that there is no clauses in which she has to be X amount of percentage of health lost before she is able to activate this skill. If she has even 1% health reduced or lost, she will just use this, mainly because these heals also work as a damage dealing ability. Therefore, there is no requirement for that. It's just as needed, she will activate it. Another thing about this though is that it does have a 15.2 cooldown, which isn't the best option, but it does manage to overlap just enough with life absorption that she is able to keep her health up pretty well. Last but not least is her ultimate, which I've talked to quite a bit on this channel, and that is Impeccable Shot. Mirri marks the enemy and exposes their weakness, causing them to take 20% more damage for 3 seconds. While the enemy is exposed, they build up to a single killing shot, unleashing a massive bolt that deals 26,883 physical damage. This is a fantastic damage dealing ability, which works out great in this specific situation because she is a tank and she is able to boost people in the party, right? Not only does it do a massive 26,883 physical damage, especially considering the fact that she's a tank, that is a massive number. Not only does she do that physical damage, but she also opens up the capabilities of 20% more damage done to the enemies by you or anybody else in the party. by 20% for 3 full seconds. That is a huge number, guys. If you are able to predict this going off, or unless you activate it manually, you can actually coordinate to do an insane amount of damage for those 3 seconds because of this ability, therefore making this one of my personal favorite companion ultimates in the game. Moving on to gear. In terms of gear, I like to emulate my personal builds, or the way I do my personal builds on my companions. Basically what I mean by that is I like to have 2 5-piece sets and a 2-piece quote-unquote monster set. Even though there is no monster sets for companions, I do like to implement that into my builds by having a 2-piece. So we'll start off with a 2-piece, and that is Quickened. Quickened in this specific situation is very important because of her taunt ability. If you don't have these 2 pieces of Quickened, then her taunt is going to have a 16-second cooldown with a 15-second taunt. So for a full second, she will not have a taunt active, which it could be potentially deadly, seen as if you're fighting a boss that deals a massive amounts of damage, for example. In that 1 second, that boss can turn around and off one of your group members or even you. So having these 2 quickened pieces is very important to bring it down to 15.2 seconds, therefore keeping the taunt pretty much 100% of the time. It is important to note though too that she is wearing this in heavy. So for the first 5-piece set is Bolstered. Again, 5 pieces of Bolstered and heavy as well. Bolstered reduces the damage taken by 1.7% for each piece equipped. So that's literally all these 5 pieces right here. Again, all in heavy, very important. Damage reduction is pretty important. So is Vigorous. So if that's a route you want to take, you can replace this for Vigorous. I just went for Bolstered because it seemed to do the job just fine with no issues whatsoever. So I went with Bolstered versus Vigorous. Really, the choice is yours, but there is no skill that I'm using for this specific build that gets stronger or scales with max health. So in this specific situation, I feel like Bolstered is the better choice. However, if you're going to be running skills like from the On Guard from the Sword and Board skill line, that scales off of your max health. So in that specific situation, I would rather run Vigorous over Bolstered, but this is literally a great choice nonetheless. For the final 5-piece set, I went with, go figure, more Bolstered. Same concept as before, as what I was saying before. Unless you have skills that scale off of health, really I think Bolstered is the better choice. Again, unless you have skills that scale off of max health, in those specific situations, I would rather run Vigorous over Bolstered. But since she's not running any of those skills whatsoever, Bolstered ended up being the better choice, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's it for the gear. Let's go ahead and go to the house and check out her fashion. Alright guys, in terms of her outfit, she is wearing a Crown Shop costume, and that is the Ashlander, I'm not even going to pronounce that word, Manhunt clothes. In terms of her dyes, I went with Cold Harbor Ash Black, Noxophilic Black, and just to have a little bit blue, signifying some black ice of course, is Shriek Blue. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of this appearance. Oh, of course, I am wearing Ice Heart Staff with Cold Harbor Ash Black as the color. But yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of this specific appearance or fashion for her. With that being said, let's go ahead and see if we can solo a world boss. I will say this though, since she is in a tanking capability, I'll probably do like some light attacks and heavy attacks and stuff like that. Just so that she can, you know, we can see exactly what she could do as a tank. But of course at the same time, since she isn't really doing damage, light and heavy, or maybe just heavy attacks would probably help out with the DPS a little bit. So let's go over and fight a world boss. So there you guys have it, the build Black Ice for you guys here on the channel. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think of this specific build. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. This build was a little tricky to get working, mainly because Mirri, in my opinion, isn't really tailor-made to be a tank. She has tanking skills and things of that nature, and for all intents and purposes, she does the job and does it right. However, she isn't my first choice, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad choice. If you guys want to run Mirri as a tank, feel free to do so. You're not doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, she does the job as it's intended to do so. However, there are better companions for tanking out there, but again, much like myself, I do have my companion preferences, and if you like Mirri for her personality, or maybe because of she's a dark elf or anything like that, then this is one option for you guys to go with. I personally think it's a fine build. However, again, it's not my first choice. Being 100% honest with you guys though. But that's gonna go ahead and do it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor, drop a like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, because it really does help this channel grow. So with that being said, catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.